Hi, my name is Bara. In 2020, Tableau introduced new methods of combining data. So currently we have 4 different ways in how we combine our data. In this video, I will explain them, show you the differences between them, and at the end, I'm going to show you an example how I usually combine my data. So let's go. Alright guys, with the latest release of Tableau 2020.2, Tableau introduced a game-changing feature in how we're gonna set up and combine our data in data sources, and that's by implementing relationships, or some other call it Noodles, which is significantly different from the old way of joining data that we are used to do in Tableau. So first, let's try to really understand, do I need to combine my data? So if your data comes from one table, here you don't have to worry about combining data. You have 2 steps. First, connect to your data. Second, go and create your visualizations. But if you have more than one table, here you have one more step. So we connect to our data. Second step, we combine the data. And the last step, we create our visualizations. In another tutorial, I showed you guys how we can connect Tableau with different data sources. You can check the card over here. In this video, we're going to talk about the different ways of combining data. So if you have multiple tables, here you need to do more decisions on how you're going to combine your data, because Tableau currently have 4 different ways of doing that. First, the new one and the default one called relationships or Noodles. Second, joining tables. Third, union. And the last one, data blending. So if you are new to data visualizations or to Tableau, you need to be careful what you are choosing here. Because whenever I first start working with Tableau or data modeling, I found those stuff very confusing. But in this video, I'm gonna give you guys a quick overview of the relationships and the old ways of combining data, show you the differences between them, and then we're gonna work on one example with Tableau to show you guys how do I make decisions while I'm combining my data. If this is your first time here and you want to learn more about Tableau and data visualizations, start by subscribing so you don't miss anything. So let's jump now on our PC and check those methods. But first, some coffee. Alright guys, so let's start now with the first methods of combining data, and that is the join methods. So let's say we have 2 tables and we want them to be merged in one big table in Tableau data source. We can go and use the join methods to do that. So once we join 2 tables, we will have to select between 4 different ways of joining. We have the inner join, left join, right join, and full outer join. So now the question, how Tableau is joining those tables? Let's say in our data, we have 2 tables, the blue one and the orange one. And once we join them, Tableau will do the following. He will start with the left one, the blue one, and he's gonna add it in Tableau data source. Then he will go to the right table, the orange one, and he will add here the columns and rows beside the blue one. So now we will have in Tableau data source one big table with all columns and rows from the 2 tables here. So now there is few things that you need to know. Joining tables can be done only on the data that comes from the same connection. And the order of joining tables is very important. So here you need to be careful. As we saw that Tableau starts first with the left one, then he goes to the right one. And those different types of joins are the same as are used in SQL databases. And if you are new and you don't know them, don't worry about that, because I'm gonna give you now a fast and very easy example. In this example, we have 2 very simple tables. On the left side, we have the customers, the blue one with 2 columns, day and the number of customers. And on the right side, we have the orders, the orange one with 2 columns, day and the number of orders. So now let's go and join those tables using Tableau. As I said, we have 4 different ways to do that. We have the inner join, left join, right join, and full outer join. So let's start now with the first one, the inner join, and see how Tableau gonna join those tables. So it's gonna always start with combining the columns in order to have the one big table. And now because we are using the inner join, Tableau gonna select only the matched record. That means if you check those tables, you will find there is 2 records are matching, Monday and Tuesday, you find it in both tables. That's why Tableau gonna select them in the data source. Anything else that is not matching, it will not be considered in the data source. So Wednesday and Sunday, you will not find it in the data source if you are using the inner join. So that's it for the inner join, only the matched record. Let's go to the next one, the left join. So Tableau gonna do the same. He will select the columns. And now because we are using the left join, Tableau gonna consider all the records from the left side. So all the records gonna be listed in the data source. And on the right side, he will consider only the matched record. So he will check, okay, Monday is matching with the customers. He gonna take it. Tuesday is matching as well. But Wednesday is not matching. He gonna leave it empty or nulls. So that is with the left join, he will consider everything from the left and start matching from the right. Now the right join is exactly the opposite. So he will first combine the columns to have the one big table. And because we are using the right join, he will take all the records from the right and put it in the data source and start matching from the left. So Monday is matching, Tuesday is matching as well, but Sunday is not matching. So he's gonna leave it empty or use the nulls. So the last one, full outer join, as you see here, he will consider everything. So first, as always, combine the columns, and then he will take all the records from left and start checking from the right. Okay, Monday is matching, Tuesday is matching, but for the Sunday there is no match, so I will put null. And then he will find and check on the right side which record are not matching with the left. So here we forgot about the Wednesday, so he will take it and put it in the data source. And since we have no match on the left side, he will put nulls. So you see, with the full outer join, you will consider all the records from left and right. So that's it. This is the 4 different types of join using Tableau. All right, guys. So the next method of combining data is the union. Let's say that you got 2 identical tables. They have the same format, the same number of columns. The simplest solution to combine those tables is to use union. So union will merge only the records. It will not merge the columns as we saw in the join method. So let's see, we have here our example, 2 tables, the blue and the orange. And once you use union, Tableau will do the following. So Tableau will select the columns from one of them. It will not merge it with the other. So here we have 3 columns. And the next step, Tableau will select all the records from the first table and put it in the data source. And the last step, Tableau will select as well all the records from the second table and insert it and append it to the blue records. So now we have like one big table with all records from both tables. So that's it. It's very simple. This is the union. There is one more thing about union. Union works only if the data comes from the same connections. That means you can do union operation between, let's say, Excel files, but you cannot use union between Excel file and database table. So that's it. This is how union works in Tableau. One more method of combining data is to use relationships or noodles. This is the new big thing from Tableau. Tableau did understand that. The old methods like joining, blending are complex, are not always a straightforward way of how you combine your data. So they developed brand new data modeling called relationships, and they even decided to make it as the new default methods of how you join your tables. A relationship describes how 2 tables relate to each other, but does not merge those tables. So think of relationships like a contract between 2 tables. So once you build your visualizations or dashboards, Tableau gonna go and check that contract in order to find the right way to join your tables. So that means it's pretty easy. All what you have to do is to build those relations between tables and Tableau will automatically find the best way to join your tables. Let's go back to our example where we have the blue and the orange tables. So once you create a relationship between them, Tableau will hold that information in the data source. It will not go immediately and merge those tables in one big table as we saw in the union or the join. Instead of that, Tableau will leave those informations in the data source and will leave them separated. Those tables are going to be joined on the visualization level, in the dashboard level. So let's go and see what Tableau going to do in the data source. So he will just move your tables to the data source level, separate it, and he will create like a link or a relationship between them. So we don't have here one big table. So that's now for the relationships or noodles in Tableau. Okay guys, one last method of combining data is to use data blending. It is relatively complex and difficult topic, so I'm going to try to cover that in a very simple example. So now the questions, why do we have data blending? In all other methods of combining data, there is one problem, that we can combine data only if they come from the same connections. That means we cannot join or combine data that comes from Excel together with a table from SQL database. That's why Tableau introduced a unique way in order to connect different data sources, and this is exactly the data blending. So let's go now to the example that we have here. So in this example, we have the blue table comes from SQL database, and the orange one comes from file. So in order now to connect them using Tableau, we need to do the following. First, we're going to load the first one in one data source and the second one in another data source. Then we go to our visualizations in order to build the dashboard. And first we select the data from the first one. So what's going to happen, Tableau going to send, let's say, query to the data source, and the data source going to answer with the data itself. So this data source is going to be considered as the primary data source. And you can see here the blue icon on the data source. So this is the primary one. So now in order to select data from the second one, from the second data source in our visualizations, what we need to do is to do the data blending between data source A and data source B. Then we can select data from this data source. So the visualization gonna send query again to this data source, and it's gonna answer with the data itself. So here we have in the visualizations both of the tables, both of the data that we need, and this data source, the orange one, will called the secondary data source. Of course, you can have many secondary data sources, but only one primary data source. So here you can see the merge happens in the visualization level and not in the data source level. The data source is gonna be separated, but they have like a link between them. There is still some limitations with the data blending. For example, data blending use the logic of left joins. So you cannot change that to inner join or right join. One more thing is that all those secondary data sources should be first aggregated. So this is as well one limitations. But still, data blending is a great way for connecting different data sources in order to do fast analysis and to answer some ad hoc questions. Okay guys, let's have now a quick overview of all those different techniques in order to understand the differences between them. So we have here two levels, the data source and the visualizations level. Let's start with the data blending. As we understand that with data blending, the data sources will stay separated from each other. There is no merge at the data source level, but instead of that, Tableau gonna merge those data at the visualizations level using left join. And let's have the next one, relationships or noodles. Here the data as well will stay separated from each other. We are not merging at the data source, but instead of that, we are describing the relationship between those tables. The next one, joining tables. Here we are merging the data. So both of those tables are going to be merged in one big table, and we are merging the columns. And here we have those different techniques like inner join, left join, right join, and full outer join. And the last one, union. We are merging as well at the data source level. So we will have one big table, but we are merging here the records. instead of the columns. So those are the 4 different types of combining data in Tableau. Okay guys, I'm going to show you now an example how we can combine different types of tables using Tableau. So I am now at my desktop, and it doesn't matter if you have Tableau public or desktop, it's going to work. I'm going to start my Tableau desktop over here. So now I have prepared for this example like few data. We have here 6 files. 5 of them are CSV files and 1 of them is JSON. So in order to connect those to Tableau, you need 2 data sources, one for CSV and the other for JSON. So I'm gonna go to my desktop. First, we're gonna make data source for the text files. So it doesn't matter which one you're gonna use. And now we are connected to the files. You see at the left side, I have the 5 tables. So I'm just gonna call it CSV data source. This is the first one. Let's create the second one for the JSON file. So I'm just gonna click over here, new data source. Then we select JSON, and I'm gonna select JSON file over here. Accept all the schema, okay. So now I have 2 data sources. In order to combine those tables, we need to understand the structure of the tables and as well the data inside them. So let's take a look of those tables. I have here again those 6 tables with some examples of them. So now let's start with the customers and orders. With the customers, we have here the customer ID and names of the customers. In the tables orders 2019, we have order date, customer ID, and product ID. As you might already notice, there is like relationship between them because both of them have the customer ID. So we can build the first combination between them using the relations or noodles. So let's go to Tableau and do that. So we have already here the customers in our data model. All what we need to do is to take the orders 2019 and connect it. So we can do that by drag and drop. So I'm gonna drag that near it, and as you see, we have the noodle between them. So just drop it, and you will see Tableau will automatically find that the customer ID is the key for that. So now we have the first combination between those 2 tables. Let's connect now other tables. So let's check the data. So if we check now the products, we see the product ID in the products and as well on the orders. So there is like relationship between them, and we can do that by connecting them with the noodle. So now let's go to Tableau, drag and drop the products. So as you see here, if we move near the customers, Tableau gonna create like a noodle between customers and products. We don't want that. We want to connect the orders and products. So let's keep moving near the orders. If I drag and drop over here, gonna create the connections, and he tells me, okay, we're gonna connect them using the product ID, and that's true. So let's close this. So now we have connected those 3 tables. So let's go now and check other tables. So we have here customer emails. I could like make relationship between them using the customer ID, but I don't want to have in my data source like many tables. So we could combine customers with the customer email in one big table. So in order to do that, we have 2 options. Either we use union or we could use the join. So now, if you use union, all tables should have the same columns. So as you see here, we have customer ID and name, but in emails, we have the emails. So that means I cannot use the union. We have here different structure. So I will go here with the join. So let's go to Tableau, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So in order to do joins, we need to go inside the customers. So we can do that by double click. And now we are inside the customers over here. And let's take the customer email, drag and drop. And as you see, Tableau started now to connect them using the inner join. I could click over here to select different types of joins. So I would like to have left join because for me, customers is the main table. And we see here the key for the join is correct, customer ID. So now we have one table, one logical table called customers that contains 2 tables. So I'm gonna close that to go back to my relationships. So here we are at the logical table, and as you see now, customers is one object, and you see here that inside it there is join. So I can see the difference between customers and orders. Inside the orders there is no join, in customer there is join. So in my example now here, I used the join to have one table about the customers. Let's go now to the next table, orders 2020, and here we have again the same issue. We have two tables with the same topic called orders. Now, in order to reduce the number of tables in my data source, I'm gonna go and combine them in one table called orders. So here we have two options, either we use join or union. So now in order to use the union between them, both of the tables should have exactly the same structure. So we have here order date on both of them, customer ID, and product ID. So that means we can go with the union or the order to combine all the records in one table. Let's go now to Tableau and do that. So I'm gonna drag and drop from the left side, orders 2020, and we're gonna go exactly beneath the order 2019. So here we have a window called union. I'm just gonna drop it over here, and we will have now the union between of them. You see here the icon. In order to check that, we can go inside it, double click, and click over here, edit union, and you see here that both of the tables using now union. So everything is fine. I go out, refresh my data, and now we have the orders and customers using different types of merging. So let's go to the next one and the last one, and that is product price. Here we have again like two tables for the same topic called products. It would be nice if we can merge them like in one table called products, but the issue over here that product price comes from different types of file called JSONs, and we have it in different data source. So now, since we have two different data sources, we cannot use those methods like relationship, union, and join to merge those data. The only method that we can use is data blending. So we're gonna go and use that in order to combine them. Let's do that in Tableau. And here we have two data sources. The one with the CSV files, where we did the join, union, and the relationship between them. And the next one is the JSON file, where we have only one table called product price. So now in order to connect those data sources, we need to go to the next level in the visualizations. To do that, we cannot do that at the data source page. So I'm gonna go over here, sheet 1, click over that, and here on the top, you will find both of the data sources. And Tableau at the moment don't know which one is the primary and which one is the secondary. So in order to do that, I'm gonna start first with the primary, and this is the CSV data source. I'm gonna go to one of the tables, for example here customers, drag and drop to my visualizations. So now Tableau understands, okay, the CSV data source is the primary one. So now let's go to the next one. And here we have the JSON file, and I'm gonna take the prices over here. Okay. And you see over here, Tableau did understand, okay, this data source is the secondary one, and he did the data blending. And here you have the icon for the data blending. I'm gonna click on it so he can connect them. So now we have connected actually all my tables with the different types of data combinations. So here we have the data blending. If I go back to the data source, to the CSV files, here we have the joining, here we have the union, and the last one is the relationship between those tables. Okay guys, so the last thing that I'm going to show you today is my ranking list of those different types of methods. So number one for me is the relationships. There is a lot of benefits using the relationships, like they are easy, fast, and very flexible. And I think they're going to replace the old methods of joining tables, especially after that Tableau made it as a default feature in the data sources. The next one comes the data blending. It's still a very unique way of combining and connecting different types of data sources. So the relationship will not replace that because it's not possible. So I'm gonna still using data blending in order to connect different types of data sources. The next one is union. I don't usually use that because I do this job at the SQL database, but still it's very nice way of combining data. The last one is joining tables. I used to use that all the time, but since we have now relationships and it's a better way of connecting data, so I think that it's gonna replace it. And I'm gonna start using relationships more than joining tables. But still, it is like nice way to implement row level security using the inner join, but this is like another topic for another tutorial. Alright guys, so that's why tutorial explaining the different types of combining data using Tableau. If this video helped you to understand these methods, give this video a like. And as always, if you want to learn more about Tableau or working with data, click on subscribe so you don't miss anything. And lastly, let me know if you have any other topics that you want me to cover in the future. Feel free to use the comment section below. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next tutorial. See ya!